Am I slightly behind? Yes. Is this video going to be chaotic and out of order? Absolutely. I have included bookmark numbers for your convenience if you feel the need to skip through this video. Let's open it up with episode 3 of NCIS Origins. I was a big fan of this episode. I enjoyed this episode more than episodes 1 and 2. Is that just because episodes 1 and 2 are setting up the characters in the story more, potentially? It seemed like everyone was a little bit less extra this time around. Everything just felt slightly more realistic this episode. This episode felt very cinematic, which was awesome. The mall chase scene was great. I love that the music basically just dropped out. I really liked the combination of what was happening outside of the case and the actual case. The two worked together very nicely, and it wasn't like one was happening without the other. The rules! We got to see the rules! For longtime fans, that was for sure a fan service moment. Does anyone remember if we see Gibbs with the rules first, or are they with his dad? When does his dad give the rules back? If it didn't already happen in the original show, I bet his dad will come back and give the rules back to him, which I think will just be a good arc. I love Randy. Protect him at all costs. I loved the moment with the signs. I really thought it was going to be like something legit, but Randy is a rule follower at heart, so I'm glad that they kept him this way. We got some tension between Lala and Gibbs when she's like, my boyfriend. The second part of this video will give my opinions about the relationship, but I will just reiterate it here. Please do not give Gibbs a love interest. Please, I do not want them together. I want them to be best friends who can trust each other. I do not want them to be a couple. I do not need them to be a couple. Everything with Mike Franks, Gibbs, and Gibbs' dad was great. I feel like my complaints about Gibbs being just kind of thrown into work was covered in this episode, and it made me a little bit more understanding of Franks. I actually sort of like that Vera is not on the team, but like still helps out. She's kind of got this I don't really care attitude, but of course we all know she cares. The forensics team was fun. I am liking the characters more and more. All the episodes up until this point, all 3 of the episodes so far have had a sort of like supernatural element to them, like people thinking it's a certain thing when really it's just this thing. Feels like a Scooby-Doo episode to me, sort of. Like everyone thinks it's a ghost, but it never is. Just an interesting writing thing that I noticed during this episode. I think I'm actually enjoying this show. I had my skepticalness about the show, still sort of skeptical, but I do really like the characters and their relationships and personalities. The crimes feel sort of like NCIS standard, nothing like too wild, but not bad or distracting or anything like that. I can confidently say I'm looking forward to next week's episode. With my thoughts on episode 3, here's the video I made for episodes 1 and 2 before I saw episode 3. I just didn't finish editing before I watched episode 3. So all my thoughts are pre-watching episode 3. I thought about releasing them as 2 different videos, but then I decided not to. Now you're getting a video of episode 3 and then episode 1 and 2 all in the same video. So hoping to not be this disorganized forever, but again, there are bookmarks in case it gets confusing. Enjoy part 2 of the video. Okay, let's talk about NCIS Origins. What my initial thoughts are, how I feel about the show, and what I'm looking forward to. So NCIS Origins had a 2-episode premiere on Monday, October 14th. The series is going to follow a young Leroy Jethro Gibbs in 1991, beginning when he joins a team to be a special agent at the fledgling NCIS, at this point NIS, Camp Pendleton office, where he learns to work with a team. I'm gonna say the most interesting part of this show is not necessarily Leroy Jethro Gibbs, which in the first episode it's like, this is a story of her, talking about Lala Dominguez, which I was like, great, she's cool, big fan. I think her character was fun to watch because I didn't have a preconceived idea of who she was supposed to be. Of course, I went into the show thinking Gibbs needed to be a certain way, so I think it was cool to have a character that I had no idea who she would be or anything specific really. A quick thought, I wonder if we'll get NCIS Origins for other NCIS characters, if it'll be a more character-centered TV series. Part of me is skeptical about it being part of network TV and having to reach a certain amount of episodes. I'm sure we'll get some filler episodes. I just really like the condensed and crisp storytelling of shorter streaming series, but of course, not to say that I don't enjoy network television or anything like that. I'm a big fan of the team not really being super team oriented quite yet. I like that Lala is kind of unpredictable, but so is Franks. Franks is a little too extra in my opinion, just like a little too out there, but he gets the job done and he is still written where he has like feelings and emotions, which is good. Whoever did the casting for that was genius. This guy was a great version of young Mike Franks. Is that just because he has a mustache? Within like 20 minutes of the first episode, I remembered that NCIS is known for doing some gnarly scenes, so that was kind of jarring at first. We meet a lot of characters like forensics and the coroner and like the leader chief person of NIS, forget what his name is. Part of me felt like the episodes felt pretty formulaic. Sometimes though I think too hard and critically about things that don't really need to be thought of that hard, you know? But when we were meeting with the different characters, it sort of just felt like, okay, here's classic characters that you'd find in any narrative crime-solving TV show. I'm going to kind of say the opposite thing, because with that being said, I did really like the personalities of the characters, and I didn't really super worry about the crime and investigation and stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure how much of these kinds of shows are meant to even be like solved before the characters solve it, you know? But that's typically how I watch most narrative crime-solving TV shows anyway, is with little to no regard about the actual crime occurring. I think the Psych Eval aspect of it was a little too black and white. It was like, you didn't pass this, you're the definition of crazy. Like, that just doesn't feel right. It was irritating when it was shocking that Gibbs would kind of lose control for a second when out in the field. He's going through a ton emotionally, and I get that being able to have something to do like work can help the recovery process, but like, it just felt like Gibbs was thrown to the wolves in a way that could potentially put himself and others in danger, like a super high stress situation. But I guess he was part of the Marines, but it just feels more like high security things. I don't know, maybe someone at NCIS can get Gibbs some help or something, or maybe he'll just work through it as he continues to work and we progress through the series. That was kind of where my suspension of disbelief fell apart. It was interesting that Vera Strickland is not someone on the team, but did leave the team, so she was part of it at one point. That was definitely an interesting plot point. I really like that Lala is dating someone. I sincerely hope that that continues and her and Gibbs can just be friends who have got each other's backs. I do not need Gibbs in a romantic relationship, please. Overall, it was a fun and entertaining series. I'm glad to be back in the NCIS universe. I'm looking forward to the development of the characters. I also just want to throw this out there. Kinda missed having an actual intro with very distinguishable theme song music. Like The Flash has a really distinguishable theme song, or even like the original NCIS show. So just kind of missed that, which we might get on more episodes once we're past the initial first episodes. I don't know. Let me know what your first impressions of this TV show are. I'm excited we're getting some new stories, even if it's in the past. We have some new characters, so I'm not upset about any of it, and I'm looking forward to future episodes. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.